Okay, now this one.
You knew this was coming.
Well, yeah, I did. I think everybody did. And this is what's interesting about this. They've been saying, especially with the timing of this Cutler thing with the draft coming up and everything, it's the Broncos are obviously going to need a quarterback. So this is what's very interesting about the Lions is they think that they might do a first round or the first overall pick trade for Cutler and then plus an additional because the Lions they're saying that wouldn't are the Lions really willing to give that up, but the Lions also have the 20th pick in the first round, and so I could maybe see it, but is Cutler going to really want to play in Detroit? I mean,
again, doesn't have a say. He does not have a say,
especially since he's done this now.
But here's the thing that I don't really get. We all know, and I hope everybody's aware of this. That Denver cannot keep Cutler. They can't. If they keep him, if they do not trade him at all between now and opening day, he just won't show up. I'm pretty sure. I mean, he might decide to show up so he doesn't, so he gets his money, but that's the only reason. Otherwise, they have to move him. So, am I going to pay a lot like that? Am I going to pay the first overall pick and another pick for him? Absolutely not. If anything, here's the deal. They should swap for the first overall pick and the first round pick of the Broncos, and Detroit should throw in their second round pick, which is kind of like a late first rounder, like we talked about Kansas City. Denver gets something for it, but they're not going to walk away with a bounty of draft picks and maybe another player. One thing I heard on the radio today was Denver might want a defensive starter in addition to a draft pick, which. Well, actually, I think leads in well to another one of the teams is the Chicago Bears.
The Bears definitely, and people have been saying this for years. We're obviously from the Chicago area, so we hear it even more. But the Bears need a quarterback. They do need a quarterback.
I'm going to say two things. First of all, I said defensive starter. Urlacher is old.
Oh, yeah.
Move him. Try moving him. That's what I would try to do if I were the Bears. I know it doesn't
sound
very popular.
You mean for getting Cutler?
Yes. Second of all, I think Kyle Orton's getting a bad rap right now because he played pretty well last year. I thought
he was okay.
I living in this area, I ended up watching a lot of Bears games. He was pretty good. There were some games he was really good. Some games he was kind of average. Some games he was terrible. That's not the consistency you want. Is it better than what the Bears had with Grossman or with any quarterback they've had over the last 20 years?
Maybe even more than a decade. Yeah, 2 decades.
I mean, obviously it'd be trading up to get Cutler, but especially the game that I keep thinking about when I think about Kyle Orton is the game against Atlanta, in Week 4, where they were down by a touch. They were down by 6 points, and within the last minute of the game, he drove them down the field, and they scored a touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game. I mean, that takes poise. That takes accuracy. That takes mettle. I mean, there's everything that you need to be a great quarterback. If you don't have any of that, if you don't have that stuff, you don't make that drive. So he's got something there. But Cutler is a trade-up.
Oh, definitely.
Other team I think you won. I think the first team was you won the Bears, right?
Yeah.
That was the first team. Second team is
the second team.
The first team you wanted more is the Cleveland Browns. So you're not feeling Brady Quinn?
No, actually, funny thing, I'm feeling both of them. I'm feeling Derek Anderson and Brady Quinn. But the interesting thing about the Browns is they're having, because 5 days ago they announced that they're having an open quarterback competition, and now they're going to throw Cutler in there. I just feel like it's kind of a mess. I mean, I guess. I mean, Derek Anderson I was good the year that they gave him that money, and then Brady Quinn hasn't really proven all that much so far. But I think those, since we're going to group Cutler in there, I think those three is a better situation than a lot of teams have. The Browns, I think, have a lot of power in this, actually.
So you think that if they do trade for Cutler, they would not get rid of either Anderson or Quinn?
Oh, no. I think they'll get rid of one of them for sure.
But do you wouldn't want them to?
Well, they can't keep all three of them. I mean,
no, they can't.
That's not possible. Neither one of those other two, the two that are on the current roster, are going to want to be third string. I would see Quinn going over Anderson, but I don't.
As far as getting traded or kept.
Yeah, but Anderson, yes, as far as being traded, but Anderson's got such a contract. I just don't know. I mean, I guess that could be their fault if he ends up being a backup because he's got such a contract. They've got kind of a. I think they gave him that huge contract a little too early.
Well, and unless I'm misremembering this or incorrectly remembering this, I'm not sure misremember is a word. With Derek Anderson's contract, didn't they give him a contract so that before last year that if he doesn't perform in his first year, they could release him, not owe him anything like that, with the idea that it would protect themselves in case it was too early and he actually regressed?
Oh, maybe.
I remember hearing that. But you see, the big thing that changed here is that Cornell and Savage, the coach and GM respectively, before the end of the season last year, if they were still around, I think they probably would have cut Anderson and gone with Quinn. But since that regime has changed, Eric Mangini's in there now. He likes Anderson more than he likes Quinn.
That's why I could see Brady Quinn being traded.
But the funny thing is, okay, so you think they would trade Quinn to Denver, and Denver would get, and then Cleveland would get Cutler, maybe like a 5th round draft pick or something like that.
Cleveland would get the 5th round
No,
draft pick?
Denver would.
Oh, I was gonna say yeah, because I don't think Brady Quinn is enough. I think there would have to be something else thrown into the deal. I would say maybe even higher than 5th.
From what I have heard, is that Denver's prepared to go into the season with Chris Sims as the starter. So I'm not sure how open they would be to Brady Quinn, but I personally think that's kind of a trade-off between those two. Sims has been a starter. Quinn, we really don't know what he's got. I thought he looked good in the games he started last year before he got injured. Those 2 games he played.
I thought he was decent. I mean, his quarterback rating. I actually remember this from TV. His quarterback rating was 80.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think he needs some. I think if you got him onto a team like the Broncos, and he could be stable and start and gain confidence and gain experience, I think he'd be okay. Yes.
I think he'll be fine if he gets experience too.
I just don't know if that's the place for him, Cleveland, meaning.
All right, we've got one more team, San Francisco 49ers.
To be honest with you, I don't really know much about the 49ers.
I don't think there's much there for Cutler. Well, first of all, we know Cutler's kind of, confrontational and moody and all that. Do you think he would respond to Mike Singletary?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I don't think he would. I think he would get so pouty the first time that Singletary got in his face. It would not work, I don't think.
I think that would be the lowest on the list of the teams. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, well, I could see them getting him. I just think that's the least likely to work if they were to get him.
Yeah.
I think, actually, I kind of like the idea of him going to Detroit, him throwing to Calvin Johnson. And I don't like him going to Chicago because Chicago has no receivers. And if they did, Chicago is where receivers go to die. So there's nothing. I don't see him. If he goes to Chicago, I have the feeling that he will drop off as a player because they don't play offense in Chicago.
No, they don't. They play what they have to.
I think Cleveland could be fine if Braylon Edwards, if they still had what's his name, the tight end they traded to Tampa Bay, what was his name?
Winslow,
yeah, Kellen Winslow. If they still had him, that could be a powerful offense. But they got rid of him, and it's just Braylon Edwards, and he had a case of the dropsies last year. So, I mean, here's the thing: I don't think any of these situations are really ideal for if you're going to play quarterback. But yeah, we'll see, and we'll see. Maybe it might not be any of them.
I've heard what they've got in Denver right now.
I've heard Carolina. Carolina's been thrown out there. I've heard.
What about Jake Delhomme?
The thing about Jake Delhomme's getting older, and you remember that 5 interception game he had in the playoffs? Bad taste in the mouth. And that was my team.
You're only as good as your last game, they say.
Yeah, really. So
that brings up one other thing I wanted to ask you about, and actually it's right on topic. And I actually just thought of it. What do you think? I'm assuming you've heard about the Brett Favre training camp. Have you heard about that?
Oh yeah, briefly.
What do you think about that?
I thought it was funny. Let's go figure. I thought the whole reason. I thought him and Mangini didn't like each other. Favre and Mangini. I thought they were at odds.
I thought that too. I just think
maybe it was tongue in cheek.
Have you also heard about? Oh well, I don't know if it's a good idea because he's going to get the itch and he might want to put that helmet on in Cleveland. What do you think about that?
I think we should buy him a back scratcher.
What do you mean?
Scratch the itch.
Oh.
I don't know. I wouldn't invite him just because I'd be concerned he'd try to come back. But the Jets right now, the Jets own the rights to him if he comes back. Again, just like last year, because he had a 2-year contract left.
But there is no rule against him going to Cleveland to the Browns camp to help, right? As a consultant, there is that.